One theme in my other work in terms of wisdom thinkers is we help kids find their story. Not the story that the world wants them to hear, not the story that someone else wants them to be, but who they really are, and help them connect with their inner voice so they understand that there is, when we talk about critical thinking, I mean, it's important to know, have your own center. So to help kids find their center, to find the strength and understand that they can change the story of the world. That they don't have to accept the killing, the disrespect for women, the whatever, the drugs, the reality, what people call reality, is false. This is what Gobind Sadan means by mitra log. And so kids are taught that this is reality. And kids growing up in this kind of reality with people, bombs coming down on their heads, seeing kids slaughtered, see the environment destroyed. Is this a reality that I want to accept? And I say to them, I don't accept reality. I don't accept reality. This is virtual reality. This is all man-made. And I mean it. It's all man-made. And you, all of the young people, have the power to change this reality. You don't have to accept it. And you change it by changing the narrative. You don't change it by fighting. You change it by changing the narrative and bringing people together around that new narrative. But the new narrative is actually the old. It's actually the eternal narrative. It's the same story that's been passed forever. It's you, current leadership in the world, who's changed the narrative for your own economic benefit, out of greed, out of lust for power, or just plain lust. You've changed the narrative. You've made all these things that should be private, public. You've made a mockery of ethics. You've made a mockery of values. That is not justice. That is not truth. And children should not be subjected to that. The world should not be subjected to it. But, however he's created this play, that's how it's playing out. But all he needs to do when he knows, as Guru Nanak cried out, Jagat Chalanda Rakle Apne Kyo Pata, Chitware Upare Sokyo Lo Abhar. When is that time, Lord? Haven't there been enough killing, enough destruction? Isn't it time? So isn't it time to change the story and have people understand that they have the power to change the story, and especially help children understand that as they're developing great new innovations, and this was wonderful about Maharaj. Some people listen, they call him the development guru, because so often you think of, and I don't want to use the term religion in this way, but people would say religious leaders, and Maharaj certainly would say they're part of the problem, because they're blocking the light. They're perverting the stories and choosing a story. Well, let's just leave it at that. And so in that process, the sense that a religious leader would, instead of teaching peace to their people, the whipping up hatred against others in the name of God. What could be worse when God is all love and the embodiment of love, and yet hatred is whipped up in his name? And so to be able to counter that, we just have to recite Nam. Let Maharaj use us as he will have us play the parts in the stories and tell the stories wherever he wants, however he wants. And then accept that it's all his granddaughter and try to listen. Learn to listen. Okay.
So, Uncle, like, as you were talking about Maharaj Sahib, you were describing him, like, your eyes were full of love. I can see that love for him in your eyes. Like, I was just trying to visualize how Maharaj Sahib was looking at that time when you first met him. Because I was really small. I was just 6 months old when I met Maharaj Sahib. So I don't have any memory of that. But yes, I was just trying to visualize it, and I just got goosebumps, like, oh my gosh, like, I was just trying to imagine the radiance and a glow on his face.
Right.
Yeah, it's just so heartwarming, and it's so overwhelming. It's so, kind of the emotions that are connected to him. I could just feel it from your talks, from your words. Uncle, I want to ask you one thing.
Yeah.
What were your initial thoughts and feelings when you first met him? Any moment that you want to relive with him, like when he was in his physical form?
Can you imagine? As I said, I truly believe, and I think scientists have even proven this, that up until the age of 5, children remember the parts of their past lives, and the sense of spiritual presence is there. It's modern society that mills it out, sort of like you put things through a mill, that mills it out in the socialization process, takes that spirituality which gives creativity and individuality and sort of mills it out and gets everybody aligned to fit in the system, whatever the system is. But can you imagine growing as a child? You grow up, you hear this voice. Many children have imaginary friends, right?
Yes.
And they make their stuffed animals talk, or they make their dolls talk. And so imagine that you have a voice speaking within you that's guiding you, and you don't think anything of it. You think it's normal, like that's what everybody has. And you go listening to the voice of trying to follow it, and suddenly the voice appears to you in a physical form, in a vision. It's beyond
imagination.
Beyond words.
Yeah.
But then imagine being called, to leave on a quest, not knowing where I was going, not knowing whether this being actually existed or whether it's just an archetypic manifestation. It was enough to let me know I wasn't going to graduate. There was another level of graduate school that I was supposed to be taking, but I had to find the... And so imagine being called, and this is what Jigender wanted me to tell more detail, that, as I traveled, the voice just became stronger and stronger. And when I was in Kabul, we traveled overland, from America, flew to Europe, traveled. That's a whole nother story. You want a story that traveling on the famed Orient Express from Belgrade to Istanbul, and staying in Istanbul, crossing the Bosphorus into Asia, coming across and just feeling that voice coming stronger and stronger, the call. So that by the time we got to Kabul, I wasn't feeling very well, but the voice was just, and then it started. Maharaj made me feel like the voice at that point made me feel like I was nothing. We just don't exist. And he said, "You're missing your mother. You're missing your friend." And my friend would speak. My mother would speak. It was like it just showed that God was everything. We are nothing. Absolutely nothing. And that it's out of his love that we exist. And then he had me sit, it started like, my son, you'll be home in 7 days. And then every day we left Kabul and crossed the Khyber down to Peshawar and Lahore. By the 7th day, we crossed from out of Lahore down across the Husseini-Wali border. And the closest city was Amritsar. And so, never having, excuse me, never having seen a Sikh in my life, never having even come across a mention of Sikhism in any of the religions, and I studied at some pretty good places, University of Rochester, Columbia, Harvard, places that are relatively well known. Never came across a mention of Sikhism. And here I'm brought to this spectacular place. But it was a little anticlimactic. I mean, Guru Nanak appeared, and very powerfully. I might as well tell you this, that when we crossed the border, they had very old tea stalls built up out of wood. It was, 1 or 2 wooden steps up, and the place had 2 benches and some chairs and a table. But there they had calendars, and there was a calendar with Guru Nanak's picture. That's the first time I saw it. And I just closed my eyes, and this hand reached down from heaven, reached out and lifted me up into that being, and it was so serene. When you say, what is the feeling? There's no fear, there's no sense of fear. It's a feeling of just being surrounded by this incredible energy of, when we look, the love between a family, the love between, Jagdish was just here. I've known him for 53 years. The love we feel for each other is amazing. But now amplify that by the one who is all love in everybody. Amplify the love we feel for each other by the source of the love. That's how you feel.